And we're back. I have not been able to do Free Advice Friday as consistently as I would like to for the last little while. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of life happening. But still, even if I can get on every couple of weeks, it's better than nothing, right? So I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys, spending some time here live on YouTube, and as always, answering voiceover business and marketing questions for you. I wanted to start off the top of the show today talking about something that you've heard me talk about before, but I think it needs clarity. And I realized that today because of a marketing email that I actually got in my inbox. So, one of the things that I have always taught is the importance of personalizing your introductory email. I don't think that writing generic form letters works anymore. I don't think that it was ever a great strategy, but I think there is something to be said for, law of averages, right? So if you throw out 1,000 of those completely generic messages, probably a few people at least are going to respond to you, but it's not the most effective strategy. I don't think it's the best strategy. And so I have always been a fan of writing a more personalized introductory email. Now, that means that you are not going to be able to send as many emails, obviously, but I would rather write and send fewer emails, but get a higher conversion rate on a higher quality lead than writing a generic message, throwing all that spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks. So I make a case for personalizing your introductory email. Today, I received a very personalized introductory email from someone. I get emails probably at least 5 or 6 times a week from people who are pitching me guests for the podcast. More often than not, it's agencies or representatives, publicists, whoever, who are pitching me guests for the podcast. And it is abundantly clear that they have zero idea what my podcast is actually about, because the guests that I get pitched are often not even remotely close to being a fit for the show. One of the ones that I had recently, somebody pitched me a gentleman who had built a multi-million-dollar lawn care business, which, congratulations, you built a multi-million-dollar lawn care business for yourself, starting from scratch with a lawnmower or whatever. Fantastic. What the heck does that have to do with voiceover? And so those emails are really frustrating to get because they have no relevance to me. They have no relevance to my audience. You've just taken time out of my day now to make me read this completely irrelevant email. It's frustrating. And that is why marketing emails suck and marketing emails annoy people. So rule number one is, if you are not sending the wrong emails, you're sending them to the right people, that's how you produce a better result and you get a higher return. So today I got a really personalized email for the podcast. And I was surprised because often somebody will just say, hey, Viopreneur by Mark Scott. And then they'll say, I listened to your most recent episode with so-and-so. And that's how they personalize the email, to make me think that they've actually done something. Well, this person did that same stuff, but they said, I really enjoyed your recent episode with Bobby Maxwell. I can't believe that she books 300 plus automotive commercials in a year, and that's really making me evaluate my strategy. I think there's probably some things that I can do better so I can book automotive at that rate as well. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is good. This person obviously listened to the episode. And then the second part of that email is pitching me this guest that, again, has absolutely zero relevance to my show. So I would suspect they probably used a tool like ChatGPT or something to summarize my podcast and write them a personalized email. So they did send a very personalized email, but it doesn't work because it's not targeted. That's the second part of the equation. It's not just enough to write a personalized message. You need to send the right message to the right people. If you don't have both of those pieces of the puzzle in place, that is where your email marketing is going to fall down. Voice actors are afraid to send marketing emails because they are afraid that they're going to annoy people. They're afraid that they're going to upset people. They're afraid that they're going to tick people off. Where you run the risk of upsetting people or annoying people or ticking people off is when you are sending the wrong message to the wrong person. So if you write a highly personalized email to an instructional designer and then link them to your commercial demo, you just dropped the ball, because what difference does your commercial demo make to them? So if you're going to write a highly personalized email to an instructional designer, part of what is going to make that email work is that you're only targeting it to people in e-learning. The content needs to be targeted for people in e-learning. So the way that you write a personalized introductory email to somebody in commercial is going to be very different from the way that you write an introductory email to someone in e-learning. It's very different from the way that you're going to write an introductory email to someone in gaming or animation. Very different from how you're going to write an introductory email to someone in automotive. So personalization is the first part, but the second part, which is also part of what makes it a personalized email, is making sure that you are sending the right messages to the right people. Does the recipient of this email care about the content of this email? If you are sending out a blanket email to all of your clients to let them know about your new corporate video demo, what difference does that make to your animation clients? They don't care about your corporate demo. So you've just sent a personalized message to the wrong people. And so now it's no longer personalized. So make sure you've got those two pieces of the puzzle in place. Have I personalized the message to the recipient? And am I sending the right content to the right people? If you can get those two things done right, that is going to greatly improve your results with your email marketing efforts. So look, I'm here to answer your questions today. Welcome, Tony. Jared's here. Angela, Lee, thanks for joining in on the live stream, guys. If you've got a voiceover business and marketing question that you would like to get answered, you know what the rules are. As always, feel free to type your question into the comments. If you put a Q beside it, it just makes it a little bit easier for me, because sometimes the comment feed can get really busy. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But if I see that Q, it just makes it a little bit easier for me to find it. So what can I answer for you today? What marketing question, what pressing business and marketing question do you have that you're like, I am going to take an hour out of my day and I'm going to go hang out with Mark Scott on YouTube and I'm going to sit around, I'm going to wait for him to answer my question? Well, here I am. I am ready to answer your question. So don't be shy. If there's something that you want to ask, again, feel free, type it in the comments and I would love to answer that question for you. What's Tony have to say? Tony says, I never felt like it should be done en masse like some people do, but how to get the numbers that you need? This is a great question, Tony. And I genuinely believe that you can send a really great marketing email in under 5 minutes. I actually teach an introductory email workshop. I teach that class a few times throughout the year. And the last segment of that workshop, I give all the participants a name, an email address, a website, a couple social media profiles, and then I literally set a 5-minute timer on the screen counting down, and I say, you have 5 minutes to write this person a lead and get that email into my inbox. 5 minutes. Set the timer. Everybody's butt puckers simultaneously because they think this is absolutely impossible. There's no way that I can write this email in 5 minutes. But I would say over 90% of the people successfully get that email into my inbox in 5 minutes. A lesson that I learned from Tony Robbins, one of my great teachers, was that a task will grow to the time that you allot for it. If you give yourself 30 minutes to write an email, it will take you 30 minutes to write an email. But if you give yourself 5 minutes to write an email, you can write a great email in 5 minutes. And so if you can get your email time down to 5 minutes, there's no reason why you can't be sending 20 of these things a day and doing that in a couple of hours or less. That's how I built my business originally. When I was starting out, I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any work. It's not like I was in the studio all day. Yeah, I was doing some auditions. I was doing some pay to plays and things like that, but I had a ton of time. So I just used all of that time to do my email marketing. And that was what I was doing. And part of that journey for me was learning how to scale and how to maximize and build in efficiencies in order to be able to send more emails in a shorter amount of time. And I was able to get it down to 5 minutes. And so if you can do it in 5 minutes, you can send a lot of emails in the course of a day. Dave says, you motivated me to reach out to a commercial casting person. Never done that before in 20 plus years. All my business comes from repeat and referral. Guess what? I'm in. So I did that. Thank you. Dave, buddy, congratulations. It's almost like this stuff works. I'm telling you guys, if you send the right message to the right person, and I think if you have the right demos, your demos will do the selling for you. And I think that's one of the misconceptions. I think we think that we have to write a really salesy email. You don't have to write a really salesy email. You just have to convince them to go to your website. If you can convince them to go to your website and listen to your demos, if you've got great demos, your demos will do the selling for you. So always focus on that. Get great demos. Let your demos do the selling for you. Lisa's question, I won 2 awards last night from our local chapter of the American Advertising Federation. Can I be considered award-winning? And if so, should I market that on a website and email signature? Well, you won awards, so you are absolutely award-winning. So I definitely think that that is something that you can play to in your marketing. Now, because you won those awards for American Advertising Federation, I don't know that that's necessarily an email that I would send out to all of my clients, but I would certainly send a message about that to my commercial clients. But I would spin it so that it's not just, hey, look at me in this award that I won. I would write it in a way so that it demonstrates I am all about bringing the best service and experience possible to my clients and lending my experience to my clients. And as an award-winning, or now as an award-winning voice actor, let me bring that to your next project. So it's not just, hey, look at me and here's a picture of my trophy. Although, absolutely, share a picture of your trophy. But what does that do for them? What that does for them is it gives them an even more credible voice for their project, an even more experienced voice for their project. And so I think it's just in how you write that email. And I would also say, absolutely, you can turn that into content for social media. Something I would encourage you with, though, is don't do it all at once. I know when you win an award, you're really excited, but I think you miss an opportunity if you create content for social media and you blitz that out at the same time across all of your platforms. So you simultaneously send it to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to X, to TikTok, to Instagram, whatever platforms you're using. It all goes out on the same day at the same time, and there's no longevity built into that. So I would encourage you, write a post about that for LinkedIn and share it and let it go for a week. And then write a different kind of post, maybe create a reel for Instagram. So you're doing a different type of post, but write a reel for Instagram and talk about what the award means or how you plan on leveraging that award or what that award means for your clients. And you create a reel and then you share that on Instagram like a week later. And so you're stretching out this experience. And rather than having this great story that you can tell one time, one day on social media, you might be able to create a series of posts and stretch that out for a few weeks. And I think that's a better approach to it. Tony says, what's your best advice for finding local and regional ad agencies and production houses when starting your automotive direct marketing campaign? Rule number 1, Tony, if you haven't done it already, over on the YouTube channel, you will find my recent episode with Bobby Maxwell. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that episode yet with Bobby Maxwell, I would definitely encourage you to check that one out. Bobby was on the podcast here 2 weeks ago, I think, and she gave incredible advice on automotive, where to look for the leads, what kind of companies you're looking for, the whole entire bit. It was a fantastic episode. And it's available here on the YouTube channel. If you check it out, it's called How to Book 300 Plus Automotive Commercials in a Year, which is what Bobby did. In 2024, she booked over 300 spots, and she said that was a slow year for her. So tons of great advice given in that one. So check it out. It's here on the YouTube channel, or, as I mentioned, wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. Listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. It's in all of those places as well. So that's one of the first things that I would be doing. I would also say automotive at, automotive ad agencies tend to just focus on automotive. That's like a specialty or a niche thing. Now they might do some of them will do maybe retail, which produces commercials on a regular basis, or casinos, which do commercials on a regular basis. But it's usually not a broad agency that you're looking for. It can be, but usually it's a more niche targeted agency for doing automotive. So take a look for who is doing those. And one of the other things that you could do, I mean, if you're looking on a local level, what's to stop you from walking into your local dealer? You've got a car, probably. Walking into your local dealer where you got your car and saying, "Hey, who do you guys use? I'm just curious who you guys use for your commercials. Do you have an agency that you work with?" And that can be the first clue. And then you start figuring out, okay, well, this is the agency that they work with. Here's what that agency calls themselves. Here's some of the keywords that agency uses on their website. So let me do some more searches and try to find, 20, 30, 50 more of those. All right. If you've got a question, again, feel free to type it into the comments. And I'm certainly happy to answer as many questions as I can. So don't be shy. If you're going to put a question in the comments, just drop that Q beside it. Makes it a little bit easier for me to find it. If you are enjoying the live stream, if I answer your question, if I say something that you find helpful or useful, I would certainly appreciate it as well if you would give me the thumbs up on this video. That would be appreciated. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Mike says, 100% of my full-time VO income is from agents, and I have to change that. What's the best way to start down that road right now? Mike, first of all, incredible. Not very many voice actors who are earning that much of their income from voiceover agents, so well done on that. Clearly, you're doing something right, and you bring a skill set to the table, so that's really good. The next step is just starting to reach out to people directly, and that can happen in a few different ways. It can happen through email marketing. I talked about that at the beginning of the show. It can happen through social media, sending LinkedIn connection requests and building and nurturing relationships on LinkedIn. It can happen through other social media platforms. If you're more comfortable with a TikTok or an Instagram or whatever, it can certainly happen in those places as well. It could look like making cold calls if you're comfortable with cold calling, and it could look like in-person networking. If you're happy with and comfortable with in-person networking, going to a local Chamber of Commerce event or going to a local small business meetup, or is there a startup community in your community, and do they meet? Is there gatherings for advertising, for video producers, whatever? How do I get in the room with those people? And so I think those are all things that you can look at. I'm a big fan of email marketing. That's probably the primary area where I do my new lead marketing. I would say email would be first and LinkedIn would be second. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what voiceover demos do I have to market? And then based off of that, who are the people that are creating that content? So let's say you've got a commercial demo. Who are the people who are creating the commercials? Well, in some instances, that's going to be advertising agencies. In some instances, that's going to be video production companies. In some instances, that could be digital advertising agencies because they may be creating content for social media, digital ads for social media. So it's looking for those people and then reaching out, making a connection, letting them know that you're there. And as I mentioned earlier, get them to your website and listen to your demos because your demos can do the selling for you. Cam says, speaking of pushing to social media, do you know of any tools to create a post to push to multiple socials on a specific schedule? Like post to Insta one day, post to Twitter later in the week. There are actually a number of different social media scheduling tools that are out there, and I have played around with several of them. I've had subscriptions to some of them in the past. I ultimately stopped using them, and I'll tell you why. I consistently found, and it's been a couple years, so maybe this has changed, but I consistently found that the organic reach that I got when I was using one of those third-party schedulers was significantly less than the organic reach that I got if I just went and posted natively to the platform. And so for that reason, I ultimately decided to stop using them because I just wasn't getting any traction. I wasn't getting any engagement. Now, if you go to X through your web browser, you can schedule out posts on X through the web browser. If you do Facebook, you can schedule posts. If you do LinkedIn through the web browser, you can schedule out posts. So there are ways that you can still schedule things up front. It's not the same as what you're asking for. And I know what you're saying is I want to use a tool like Post Planner or Hootsuite or Zoho Social, or some of those types of tools where I write the post and then schedule it, and it sends it out to all of the different platforms at different days or times or whatever. Those tools do exist. I just never found them to be particularly effective. I would also say the other thing I would caution about that is you have to take into consideration who your audience is on each of those platforms, and you have to take into consideration the medium on each of those platforms. So a long form text post can work really well on LinkedIn, but it's probably not going to work as well on Instagram, where you might want to do video. And so sometimes it isn't just about taking one post and pushing it out to all of the different platforms. It's also about, how do I take this one post and repurpose it into a couple of different types of content that I can then share based on image works here, text works here, video works here. And also, how do I write it from different perspectives? Because if you're writing something on Instagram, it might be a little bit more personal in nature. Whereas if you're telling that same story on LinkedIn, you might be telling it from a professional perspective. And so then it's going to look a little bit differently as well. So I think that's something else that you have to take into consideration. All right, let's see. What's the typical ratio for sending/open emails? I just started marketing this year. I sent 45 emails and got one response. The rest didn't even open. What can I tweak? Subject line or other ideas? I would definitely say that you might want to look at your subject line, because that's the first thing that a lot of people see. I would actually encourage you to turn off your open tracking. More and more email providers, email servers are blocking emails with tracking pixels. So I don't want to get too technical, because I don't know how, and I'm not super technical anyway, but I don't want to like blow your mind here with, geek speak or whatever. But when you send an email that has a tracking pixel, it's a little piece of code that's embedded into the email. And that piece of code is what sends back the information that this email has been opened or clicked or whatever. More and more email platforms are blocking those tracking pixels, and so that can result in your message going directly to spam. Email open rates are not a reliable metric anyway, and that's something that I've talked about very extensively on this channel and through the podcast. And they're not a reliable metric because of tracking pixels being blocked and all the things that we just talked about. So I don't even think that it's worth it at this point to try to track your opens on your email. In fact, in Nimble, which is the CRM that I use, they actually encourage you to turn off email open tracking and just use link tracking. And so I've done that. So I'm no longer tracking opens on my Nimble messages. So what I'm primarily looking for is replies, because ultimately that's what matters anyway, right? I don't, who cares if they open your email if they never ultimately reply to your email? And so I'm looking for a 10 to 15% response rate on my emails. That's what I'm looking for. So if you send out 45, I mean, ideally I would like to see 4 or 5, 6 responses on those 45. But in order to get to that 10 or 15% response rate, I'm also sending more than one email. So I have an entire follow-up strategy in place, and that is what allows me to send multiple emails. And sometimes I get a response in the first email, sometimes it's on the second email, sometimes it's on the fourth email. And so that's part of what you've got to look at doing for your email marketing as well, is making sure that you have some sort of system in place that allows you to send more than one email, because it is going to take more than one email to get it done. Last week, I taught my Follow-Up Academy masterclass. I taught it on the 11th and the 13th, and I have totally and completely overhauled my entire follow-up strategy completely. I'm doing things in a way that I haven't done before. I just started doing this totally new way of doing follow-up back in the fall, and I teach that in this class. And so if that's something that you're interested in learning about what does a follow-up strategy look like? How many emails should I send? When should I send those emails? What should I include in those emails? All of that sort of stuff. I dive into all of that in my Follow-Up Academy Masterclass. So the video recording of that is available. If you go to viopreneur.com and click on the store button, you'll be able to see that. You can sign up if you're interested. You can get instant access to the class, and you'll be able to watch Follow-Up Academy. Scroll down. There it is right there, Follow-Up Academy. That might be helpful for you too. But definitely part of it is that you're going to have to send more emails. And I think if you're not even getting into the opens, if you're not seeing the opens, there's probably something in the message that is making it trigger spam filters. And sometimes that can be the subject line. William says, circling back to demos, if all you can afford right now is a homemade demo, who are the best folks to run them by? Most of the demo producers, in all honesty, probably aren't going to listen to your homemade demo, just because they're demo producers who are selling demos. I would be very cautious of a homemade demo. I understand if it's the only thing that you can afford. Sometimes sometimes we've got to make decisions based on budget, and I totally get that. In the beginning, a lot of the demos that I made were from projects that I had worked on, and they weren't great, but it was all that I could afford at the time. And so at least they had some professional production behind them. The best that you might be able to do is just listen to the demos on some of these producers' websites and listen to the demos on some of the online casting sites. Look for some of the top talent on sites like a voices.com or a Voice123 and listen to their demos so you can have a frame of reference. That might be the best thing that you can do in that situation. Again, if you have a question for Free Advice Friday, I'm certainly happy to answer as many questions as I can. Just type it into the comments. Feel free. Put a Q beside it so that I can see it. If I miss your question, I apologize. Don't be afraid to repost it if I happen to miss it, or if you wrote it and didn't put a Q beside it, I might have overlooked it. But I'm certainly happy to try to get to as many questions as I can. Cameron says, I've heard people sending their own emails manually say that they got banned or something from sending like 100 emails in a day, a spam protection, I believe. So I am not an email expert, just to be clear. I am not an IT guy. My understanding is if you send too many identical emails at once, that can be a problem. I'm not sending 100 emails in a day, so I think that's probably part of what saves me. But I'm also not sending identical emails. Every email that I send has a unique subject line. Every email that I send, at least a percentage of that email has been personalized to the lead. And so I think that's probably part of how I'm avoiding that. But yeah, if you send too many identical messages, and so that's another reason why I say form letters don't work anymore. If you're writing a generic form letter message and you're just blitzing that out to as many people as humanly possible, then yeah, there is a higher probability that you're going to wind up in spam. Justin says, I remember hearing that you might add sequences, workflows in Nimble to the courses. Yeah, so in my Nimble course right now, I do have a video for workflows, but it needs to be updated too because workflows has now changed pretty significantly in Nimble. And sequences is a relatively new function as well. So yes, those videos will be added at some point. It is on my list to get those done. Anybody who has previously signed up for my Nimble class will get access to those new videos once they are posted. The new functionality of workflows and the integration that they have with sequences, which is again another newer feature, game changer. Absolute game changer. Let's see, what else? That follow-up class was really, really helpful. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and hope that you were able to get some helpful tips from it for sure. What else is going on? What else can I answer for you? Who else has a question here for Free Advice Friday? Again, if I missed your question, I do apologize. Don't be afraid to drop it into the comments again. Make sure you put that Q beside it so it's a little bit easier for me to see. One of the things I wanted to mention, I am going to be doing VO Atlanta this year. Very excited to be able to come back to VO Atlanta. I will be doing an X session on Thursday afternoon called From Search to Send. Imagine having me in your studio, sitting in a chair with a Dr. Pepper right beside you at your desk, looking over your shoulder while you are going through your email marketing process. And so you have the ability to say, Mark, what do I do here? What do I say here? What happens here? But not only that, I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Literally, I'm going to walk you through this entire process, exactly what my workflow looks like. I'm going to show you the software that I'm using. I'm going to show you how I use that software. I'm going to show you how to find a lead. I'm going to show you how to put them into your CRM. I'm going to show you how to write an email. I'm going to give you the templates that I'm using for writing emails. I'm going to walk you through the entire process from search to send. And so by the time this workshop is done, you are going to know exactly what my workflow looks like. And you will have an email that you are ready to send to a new lead. So this is going to be a very interactive X session. If you're going to come to this session, and I hope that you do, make sure that you bring your laptop or your tablet because you are going to be working in this session. And I'm going to walk you through the entire process step by step. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up for that yet, that is, again, happening at VO Atlanta on the Thursday afternoon, March the 20th. You can see there 3:30 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. So I would love to have you in that session. If you go to VO Atlanta and log into your account, you can get to the X session screen. There's still some spots available for that one. Looking forward to teaching that class. It's always a very well-received class. I purchased your Nimble class in 2023-ish. Do you have an updated version, or are there any major Nimble updates that we can benefit from? I did update a lot of the class last fall based on some of the new features and functionality and some of the interface changes that happened in Nimble. So I did update it in the fall of 2024. I will be updating it again here in the next month or so. Hopefully, I got a lot of prep to do for VO Atlanta too. But and in that, the content that I will be adding this time around will reflect some of the changes that have happened with workflows and some of the changes with sequences. So there will be some updates coming. Have you seen any blowback from being on Twitter X still? Opinions on Blue Sky, Threads, or any other alternatives? Look, you know what? I think it's stupid to judge people by where they hang out on social media. Contrary to what some people think, I'm going to get in so much trouble for this now. Okay, hang on. I got to be diplomatic here. Not everything has to be political. Not every decision is motivated by politics. Not every piece of content is motivated by politics. Not every social media decision is motivated by politics. And I know that there are some people that can't see that, and that's okay. But it doesn't all have to be political. I have been on X since, I don't know, I think it's first year maybe when I signed up for X. So it's a place that I know, it's a place that I'm comfortable with, it's a place that I hang out. Is there good content on X? Yes. Is there bad content on X? Yes. Are there people I agree with on X? Yes. Are there people I disagree with on X? Yes. Do I think that there's value in being in an environment with people that I agree with and disagree with? Yes, because the other thing I don't want to do is get caught up in an echo chamber. But again, not everything is motivated by politics. So I don't have a problem being on X. If somebody else has a problem with being on X, that's the beauty of social media. There's a lot more different platforms that you can move to. If you can figure out how to build a following on Blue Sky and build a following that can open up doors for voiceover opportunities, then get on Blue Sky. If you can do that on Threads, then get on Threads. If you can do that on Instagram, then do it on Instagram. That's the beauty of marketing. There's no one right way to do this. So you take advantage of all of the different tools that are made available to you. You make choices based on the ones that you enjoy, that you like, that has the potential buyer pool that you're looking for. I mean, put the politics of X aside for a minute. What there is on X, one of the things that there is on X is a very thriving indie game community. And if you are somebody who is interested in the indie game space, you can get access to opportunities on that platform because there is a very active community on there. So forget the politics. Think about your business. If that's where your buyers are, then don't you want to be where your buyers are? At the same time, if your buyer pool is on Blue Sky, then sign up for Blue Sky and do whatever it is that they do on Blue Sky. What do they call it? I mean, you can't technically call it a tweet, right? But post on Blue Sky and build your audience on Blue Sky. I think that I think it doesn't matter which social media platform you're on nearly as much as it matters. Are you using the social media platform to its true and full potential and using it in a strategic way? Cameron says, very specific question. I have a lot of teaching hospitals in my area and I want to reach out, so market myself for training videos, etc. Any idea how to find the right contact at the hospital? I would probably start by looking for anybody that is in training. So it might be that you're looking for instructional designers. It might be that you are looking for e-learning developers. So I think that would be the first place that I would go. And then I think probably the second place that I would look at, if I can't find anything there, is maybe reaching out to somebody in HR. And I think that would be a place where even if it wasn't the exact right person, maybe they could direct you to who you need to speak to. Annie says, how much snow do you have over there, Mark? We're having a true winter here in Ottawa. Yeah, we got, I don't know, we probably got 10 inches maybe last weekend. Not nearly as much as some other places around us, go an hour north and they got a lot more snow. More than enough for me because I hate snow. And the most snow, honestly, that we've had in a couple of years as well. But I just want it to be warm again. It is so freaking cold out right now. I'm so done with the cold. I can't handle it anymore. Bob said, I saw some Dr. Pepper Peeps at the store. I thought of you. Have you seen these? Actually, somebody sent me Dr. Pepper Peeps last year. And I'm not a fan of the Peeps. I think that I definitely could taste a hint of Dr. Pepper in them. Kaylee loved them, so she ate most of them. What I'm looking for now, though, and I haven't found it yet, I see that Dr. Pepper has come out with the blackberry flavor. I'm not a fan of the strawberries and cream one, although my kids love that one. I do like cherry Dr. Pepper. I'm a big fan of cherry Dr. Pepper. I don't mind the Dr. Pepper, what is it, like Dr. Pepper cream soda, I think, or vanilla cream or something like that. I don't mind that one. I would like to try this blackberry one. I don't know if it's going to come to Canada, though. We don't always get the cool flavors in Canada, so I'm hoping maybe I'll be able to find some when I'm in Atlanta. Patrick says, when's the next follow-up class? I will not be teaching it live again this year. However, you can get access to the video recording if you go to viopreneur.com, click on the store button. It's a recording from the class from last week. And so you'll get instant access and you could watch that right away. How much of your personality do you put into your emails? Trying to figure that out. I think that I think it's okay to put a little bit of you in them, because I think if the number one direction that everybody is looking for now is authentic, then I want to be authentic. And so I'm a fun guy. I try to be a fun guy. I try to have a sense of humor. Sometimes I'm sarcastic. I have to be a little bit careful with sarcasm. Sarcasm doesn't always translate well in emails, but I definitely want to instill a little bit of personality in my emails and give people a little bit of an idea of who I am. And I think part of the advantage to that is, just being authentically you. But sometimes that's the thing that somebody's going to connect with, because that's maybe something that they identify in themselves or they recognize in themselves. And so that becomes the thing that you make the personal connection with. Rob says, what's in the smoker this weekend? Rob, the smoker is going to get dissected this weekend. My pit boss, I have two smokers. I have my Oklahoma Joe, which is a wood burning smoker. It's buried right now, very deeply under snow. I haven't had a chance to dig it out yet. My pit boss, though, we had a major deep freeze for about 2 weeks here in late January. Like I'm talking like minus 26, which is Celsius, and I apologize. I don't know. How do we convert that? Let's do this for a second because I know that's going to confuse people. Minus 26 Celsius equals Fahrenheit. So let's see, minus 26. So that's minus 14 Fahrenheit. Anyway, we went through this really wicked cold snap and my smoker froze solid. Like it literally froze solid. So I put it in my shop and I've been trying to thaw it out, but the auger that feeds the pellets still will not turn. And so I'm hoping this weekend I'm going to have some time to tear my smoker apart and see if I can get it working again because otherwise, that would be a bummer. I need to make bacon. I've been waiting for an opportunity to make some more bacon, and I can't do it without my pit boss. If we are not at VO Atlanta, will you offer from search to send as a course to purchase later? Honestly, it's something I've never thought about. But now I will think about it, Ann. I will think about it. I've only ever taught it as an X session. All right, let's see. Justin says, in your emails, professional versus personal, do you find that emails tend to go away from VO and business and have a better response rate? Do you find that emails that tend to go away from VO and business have a better response? I think what has a better response rate is always trying to write the email with the recipient in mind. And what I mean by that is our default is to write an email that talks all about us and talks all about what we do or what we offer. When what we really should be doing is writing emails that explain how what we offer is of value or benefit to the recipient. Here's how I can solve a problem for you. Here's how I can address a pain point for you. When we get an email and we start reading through that email, instinctively, there's a part of us that's like, okay, what's in it for me? You know, when we know somebody's pitching us, we're sitting there thinking, what's in it for me? So help them understand what's in it for them. I think that's what really makes a difference. I think that's how you write a better, more successful email address. 2.5 feet in 4 days. Yeah, no, thank you. That sounds like my family. I got family that live up north, northern Ontario. They're about 8 hours north of us. And my mother-in-law was here visiting for a couple weeks in February. We had a bunch of birthdays. And when she flew home to 4-foot snowbanks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't understand why people live there on purpose. I couldn't do it. Cameron says, do you word cold emails differently for local businesses you're marketing to versus non-local? Any advice for schmoozing local businesses? 100%. 100% I do. Because the local connection is what makes the personal connection. So, prime example, I reached out to a video producer yesterday who is in Kitchener. Kitchener is about an hour from where I live. My family's favorite restaurant happens to be in Kitchener, and it's a very popular restaurant. A lot of people in the area would like a lot of people who are in Kitchener would be familiar with this restaurant. And so when I reached out, I was actually mentioning, I mentioned Kitchener and that restaurant and, you know, loving, that's one of my family's favorite places to go. And my hope is that she's going to read this email and be like, dang, I love that place too. And now we've built a connection. So yeah, I totally take a different approach when I'm writing to local people because I have the ability to speak to them on that local level. I can talk about a local hangout or a local restaurant or a local landmark or localisms or whatever it is. And so yeah, I definitely think that's something that you can incorporate into your emails. Patrick says, do you still watch Barbecue Pitmasters? There's a few different guys that I like to watch on YouTube every once in a while. Mostly it just makes me hungry right now, though. I have not been able to use my smoker nearly as much this winter, and I fully confess, but it has just been so freaking cold here in the last probably 8 weeks. More so than I think, maybe a little bit more so than normal. And I'm sorry, but when it's minus 20, like I just can't motivate my butt to get outside and do it in those circumstances. And it's so much harder to maintain temperatures in the smoker when it's cold and windy like that. And so I am waiting, though. I am waiting for the weather to turn, because then I will absolutely be smoking all the things. Sarah says, if we purchase Follow Up Academy before, how do we get the new version? All you have to do is log in, Sarah. It is waiting for you. The old video has been replaced with the new video. So anybody who has previously purchased Follow Up Academy, and by the way, this goes for any of my courses. If you've ever purchased any of my courses and that course gets updated, you always get access to the updates. I'm not here to keep selling you the same thing over and over and over again. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm just interested in helping you to grow your business. And so, yes, Sarah, if you log in now at vopreneur.com, you can get access. That new video is already there. All right, let's see. Where else? Several people asking about that. So we've got that about getting access to the updates. So we've got that addressed. Eric says, write an email that focuses on them and what the benefits are if they work with me for their business. 100%. That's it. Help them understand how you are going to make their life easier. Help them understand how you are going to solve a problem for them. I can write in an email that I have a Source Connect equipped studio. And that's a fact. I have a Source Connect equipped studio. That's a feature of my voiceover business, is a Source Connect equipped studio. Or I can write in an email that I have the ability to do directed sessions via Source Connect so that you can get your recording right the first time. I just said the exact same thing, but I didn't. One way is just listed, it's a line list of, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. But the other way says, I've got this, but here's how that's good for you. I've got this, but here's how that's going to make your life easier. I've got this, but here's how it's going to add value to your project. And so that's the types of things that you need to be thinking about. All right. Again, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Type it into the comments. I'm trying to get through as many of these as possible. And if I missed your question, I certainly do apologize again. Don't be afraid to go back and type it again if I missed it. Just put that Q in the comment beside it so that it stands out on the screen a little bit more. Look at that. We've been here for 47 minutes already. That's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun and answering questions about voiceover marketing. Hit that like button for me, please. I would certainly appreciate it if you would. If I'm not going to answer any more questions until you hit the like button. That's it. I'm going to sit here and protest. I'm not going to answer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But I would appreciate it if you hit that like button. I want to tell you about this too. I've been in this game for a while. And when I first started out, I did all the things wrong. Literally, I did all the things wrong. And as I was learning how to stop doing all of the things wrong, that's when I started writing my blog. So this is going back a while. Now I work with voice actors on a daily basis. I, sometimes do 6 or 8 coaching sessions in a day, and I see all the mistakes that voice actors are making, and I recognize them because I used to make them all too. I have put together a free resource that I want to give to you that lists some of the most common marketing mistakes that voice actors are making. And I want to give you that resource so that you can stop making those mistakes. So if you go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com, I just put it in the chat, go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com, you can get that free guide, which will outline some of the most common marketing mistakes that I see voice actors making. And then I'm going to send you some emails just to give you some tips for how to fix those things, how to stop making those mistakes, and what the right approach is. Justin says, are you hitting up any live music spots in Atlanta? Probably not hitting up any live music spots, but there is a barbecue place that I like to go to when I'm in Atlanta. So that will be on my agenda. And Bridget Reel and I have an annual tradition every year that I have gone to VO Atlanta. Bridget and I head off to the original Chick-fil-A. And so very much looking forward to doing that. Bridget, Lynn Norris, Miranda Ellis, we always go and hit the Chick-fil-A. So that is one of my other Atlanta traditions. And then Slotsky's, which is just down the road from the Hilton. Plan on hitting that place up a few times as well because, man, they make good sandwiches. And we don't have that in Canada, unfortunately. Cameron says, if you're not sure the person is the right one, you'd want to reach out. Title may sound right, but might not work with VO. Do you give a pitch or ask if they're the right person? I am not afraid. If I'm not sure and I can't find anybody that seems like they would be better, I am not afraid to put a little line at the bottom of that email that just simply says, by the way, if you're not the person who works with voice actors, would you please be so kind as to forward this email to the person who is? And I've had that work before. I want to tell you about this too, the new podcast, if you haven't checked it out yet. Michael Everhard really wants to work in indie games. And for those of you that maybe work in indie games, you know that sometimes there's not a whole lot of money in indie games, particularly in the start. But Michael tried something new on the latest game that he's working on. And he has actually gone into a full partnership with them on the game, which will open up profit sharing. And so if the game does not succeed, then nobody makes money. But if the game does succeed, then everybody makes money. And I love that idea. I love that approach. It's like taking an equity stake in a startup, right? Maybe that startup is going to fail and go out of business and declare bankruptcy, or maybe that startup is going to become $1 billion unicorn and you've got shares now. And so Michael shares his story of what that process looked like and offer some really great tips for voice actors who are thinking about working in that space for how you could do something very similar. Really, really great episode, really great conversation with Michael. And Michael is also a nimble Jedi. And so we talked a little bit about Nimble in that conversation as well. This is a guy that's got all kinds of workflows and sequences set up, and Nimble is just sending a crap ton of emails for him on a regular basis. Tony says, how do you balance family, job, VO life? I posted a question about it earlier. Thanks. There comes a point where the studio has to be closed. And that was something that I didn't always get. I tend to be a workaholic by nature. It's really easy for me to get going on different projects and just completely zone out. Sometimes my wife will pop down during the day and be like, hey, did you eat today? And I'll be like, no, why? What time is it? She's like, it's 3:30. I'm like, oh, crap. No, yeah, I totally forgot to eat. And so thankfully, she's there to remind me to be human every once in a while. But there does come a point where the studio's just got to be closed. And I think part of what allows you to do that is your ability to prioritize what actually has to be done on a day-to-day basis. Not everything has the same value. Not every task on your list is going to add the same amount of value to your business. And so maybe you don't necessarily have to get every single thing done. Maybe you just have to get the most important things done. And so part of it is just determining first and foremost, what are the most important things, and recognizing that, okay, some of this other stuff, would it be nice? Sure. Is it essential? No. I think part of that for me also comes in my ability to think ahead. I'm always trying to think a quarter ahead. For certain parts of my business, I'm trying to think a quarter ahead. That way, I can work on something an hour a day for a month rather than having to work on something for 14 hours a day for a week because I, left it until the last possible second, and now I'm in panic mode trying to get things done. And so I think that's part of it too, is just learning how to really master your schedule and learning how to prioritize your schedule. But at the same time, I will say, if the biggest problem that I have to deal with is I have more work than I can handle, it's not such a bad place to be in, because then I can also start to look at, what can I outsource? What don't I have to do? What parts of this can I give to somebody else to do? Any updates to last year's playbook? No updates to playbook at this point. However, I am in the drafting stages of playbook 4.0. I was hoping to have playbook 4.0 ready for April. I don't think that's probably going to happen at this point, just because I'm going to be gone in March we're going up north to visit family during March break, and I'll be at VO Atlanta, and I got to take a week off for that. And so and Playbook is coming out in early April. So I don't think Playbook 4.0 will be ready for April. But it doesn't matter, because once Playbook 4.0 is ready, anybody who has ever purchased Playbook will get access to the updated modules. Let's see, what else? Can a corporate demo possibly be used as a commercial demo if one doesn't have both yet, or vice versa? I don't think those two demos are interchangeable. I think the genres are too different. However, I think there are ways that you can strategically market when you only have one of those. A lot of video production companies do more than one thing. There are a lot of video production companies that do commercial, but maybe they also do some corporate video. Maybe they do some training videos. Maybe they do some explainer videos. And so if you only have one demo, but you can use that one demo to get you in the door with that company, that can get you access to other types of auditions. And then as you start to book, hopefully you'll be able to get permission to use some of the things that you're booking. And those can become samples that you can post on your website. So that even if you don't have specific demos in those other genres, at least if you can have some samples, it gives you something to work with. What's been the most surprising thing you've learned later in your career that would have been a game changer to know earlier? I wish I had discovered the power of direct marketing 10 years sooner. And I don't just say that because I teach it. It is so easy to get so reliant on traditional ways of building a voiceover business. To this day, there are still people who come into the industry who are taught that in order to succeed, you have to get agents. I'm not saying that you can't do that. Of course you can do that. But the reality is that is not the way the industry works for the vast majority of people now. Agents are one piece of the puzzle, but they're certainly not the exclusive piece of the puzzle that they were 20 years ago. There are still people that come into this industry today who think that the only way to find voiceover work is through online casting platforms like a Voice 123, because they're taught that that's how you get voiceover work. And again, I'm not saying that you can't use online casting as part of the tools in your toolbox, but this idea that the industry still works that way, I don't know. I just feel like it's something that still gets taught because there are still people who are living in that world. And I think that limits a lot of voice actors from really unlocking their earning potential, because they're not figuring out how to go out there and find their own clients. And I think, particularly when you're starting out, we work with voiceover coaches. We work on our acting, and we work on our delivery, and we get Uncle Roy to check out our studio, and we make sure that we got all the right equipment. And we work with Ann Ganguza or JMC or Dave Walsh or the Demo Dream Team, and we try to produce really, really great demos. But I think we also forget, because nobody's talking about this either. Well, I mean, I am, but one of the best things that I ever did for my business back in the early days was I took an entrepreneurship class. And I think it was taking that entrepreneurship class that helped me to realize that I'm running a business. And so that was part of what got me out of this mentality of agent online casting. Agent online casting. That's it. If you want work, agent online casting. So when I started thinking more from that entrepreneurial headspace, and I started realizing, well, okay, if there are people out there who are putting their work through agents, and there are people out there who are posting their jobs through online casting, there's got to be people out there who don't know about agents or don't know about online casting who still need voiceover. There's got to be people out there who don't want to use agents or don't want to use online casting who still need voiceover. How do I go and get those people? And that was a huge thing. That was it. That was a huge thing for me because that's when my income really started to climb, was when I really started to embrace the entrepreneurial side of things. Great question, Rob. Great question. And that's why still to this day, I suggest, first and foremost, obviously listen to my podcast. It's the greatest podcast in the world, and you should subscribe to it, and you should listen to it every week, and you should always join me for Free Advice Friday. But once you have done that, subscribe to some marketing podcasts. Subscribe to some entrepreneurial podcasts. Listen to interviews with entrepreneurs and business leaders and CEOs and hear what they're doing. You know, we talked earlier about, do I get blowback for being on X? And, I said, I don't want to get caught in an echo chamber. The same thing goes for your voiceover business. Sometimes in order to advance yourself in the industry, you've got to listen to people who are outside of the industry because they're going to give you a different perspective. And that's going to change the way that you do things. And so that's why I spend so much of my time listening to those business and marketing podcasts. That's why I take marketing classes. And that's why I took entrepreneurship classes. That's why if you look at my library of books is divided into biographies of billionaires and politicians because I want to learn leadership, not politics. And marketing and sales and entrepreneurship. And those are the books that I'm reading so that I can learn to think like they think and then apply those lessons to my voiceover business. And so I think that's advice that I've always given and that I will continue to give. All right, guys, I got to jump out because I actually got a coaching session at 2:15. I got to get ready for. So thank you for joining Free Advice Friday again this week. I certainly do appreciate it. For those of you who jumped in late, you'll be able to go back and watch the replay, and I will get some chapter markers added in as well, so it'll make it a little bit easier to jump around and see some of the specific questions that were asked and answered. Get your free marketing guide at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. Grab that guide, grab that download. I think it will be really helpful. Check out some of the other content on the YouTube channel as well. Listen to that episode with Bobby Maxwell. It was a really good one. A couple weeks ago, I had a fantastic interview with Emma O'Neill about working with agents. That was a good one. Listen to Michael's interview and think about the profit sharing idea. And maybe I can apply that to indie games, but could I apply that in other areas and potentially other genres as well? And does that open up new doors for new opportunities where maybe the money's not there yet, but the money could be there on the backside? So just trying to get you to think about things differently. I hope it's been helpful. Hit that like button before you go. I would certainly appreciate it. I will try to get back again next Friday just because I know I'm going to be doing some traveling in March. And so it's going to limit the number that I can do, but I will certainly try to get back again next Friday and we will do it all over again. All right. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And as always, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.